Are we live now? All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I call together to order the meeting of our Board of Supervisors monthly meeting, this being our September meeting, I would like to point out that we do have and I would like to recognize an employee from our Social Services Department that has served us with 36 years of service who is retiring this week. And I wanted to just point out that Miss Regina Harris, who's been with us for 36 years, is retiring. I asked her to come tonight, but she would not at all come in order to receive the recognition that we wanted to get. So I just want to do that before I call to order. I thank you for that. And at this point, I will call to order our monthly Board of Supervisors meeting, and I would ask that we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
If push your headphones in, because we're getting some feedback from your headphones.
How's that? Is that better? Because now I'm unmuted. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. At this time, I have called the meeting to order, and I would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. We good? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. At this time, we would ask for the adoption of the agenda. Unmute yourself, gentlemen.
Unmute yourself, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? And my vote is done. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to all of those assembled this afternoon or this evening, and those that are joining us via Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. Good evening. Before we get started, I will ask that when you come to the podium this evening to do presentations, we will be relocating the laptop to the podium for you guys to do presentations. There will not be a microphone for you all to use, so we'll ask that you just speak loudly. Because of COVID, we don't want to have to keep cleaning the microphone over and over. So there will be a laptop, and you'll just speak into the laptop so the people that are virtual can see the presentations for this evening, okay? Everybody good? All right. The first item, number 3, Mr. Chairman, the consent agenda, approval of the minutes, August 17th, 2020, State of the County and Broadband Town Hall meeting minutes, August 24th, 2020, the Take 2 State of the County and Broadband Town Hall meeting minutes, August 25th, 2020, the Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes, and CH2M Hill invoices for services through August 17th, 2020, and the appropriations for October 2020, Mr. Chairman.
It's going to take some while to get used to being unmuted and muted. I do have a quick question on CH2M Hill, Ms. Johnson, after we do the consent agenda. So the floor is open for a motion, gentlemen.
Motion for approval of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? And my vote is aye. Ms. Johnson, on CH2M Hill, we have been discussing for quite a few years about the possibility of in-house E&S and also landfill monitoring or whatever. Can you give a quick, and I know it might be catching you a little off guard, can you give us an update as to where we are on that, or where we may be headed, or if that's on hold over COVID or whatnot?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. We have next month, I will be bringing forth a renewal of the CH2M Hill contract for another 18 months, because in the light of COVID and then the transitions with the planning department, as well as the planning department gaining the building officials' duties, I've tabled that for another 18 months to get us the opportunity to get staff in order. And hopefully by next budget year, we'll have all of our plans in place, as well as secure a location for new employees to sit. We're running out of space in the building, and so we have a lot of details that we need to correct for before we implement that full stream. So not to disrupt services, we will be recommending to renew CH2M Hill's contract for another 18 months, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Continue on.
At this time, we will have presentations by VDOT, monthly reports by Mr. Marshall Wynn, who is in with us this afternoon. Ms. Sledge, if you could bring Miranda's laptop back into the session. And we will have the presentation by Mr. Marshall Wynn with VDOT.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Johnson, Marshall Wynn with VDOT. I know you have the monthly report. As you can see, we had 85 work orders this month and completed 107, had 2 call outs. We finished our 3rd cycle of primary mowing and are currently working on our secondary mowing. Once we finish the secondary mowing, we'll go do a 4th cycle of primary mowing throughout the county. They're been working on drainage issues throughout the month. You name it, everything. We've done a couple of projects to help with sight distance at driveways. One on lock carriers, I remember, and another one, I really can't remember. We sloped a bank for a citizen in the county. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to report. I know that the 155 bridge was a big item to open up. We didn't get it open on the 1st, but we got it opened up before Labor Day. The reason for that was the flooding of the Chickahominy River and the barge that was in the river, where we had to take the forms out from under the deck. So that was the delay. We needed a crane there to pick the barge up out of the river and move it out of the way. So other than that, I really don't have anything else to report. If y'all have any questions, please let me know.
If you all have any questions, you can unmute. Go ahead.
Chairman. Yeah, Mr. Wynn, I was just curious. Yeah, I'm gonna hold off just a sec. I can hear me.
Trying to keep the echo down.
How soon do you think we can schedule a meeting with you, me, myself, and Ms. Johnson, so that we can discuss some of the things throughout District 3, so we can come to terms on improving some of the road conditions?
You tell me when you have an opening, give me a few dates and times, and I'll let you know if I can, be present at the meeting and everything.
Okay, and I'd like to say thank you for your work on the bridge there going on 155 to Providence Ford. So, but other than that, I think Ms. Johnson can schedule a meeting for us so we can get together and talk about the road conditions further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wynn, I got a text before I left home this evening. I'd like to read it to you. It said, there is a deep pothole on 106 that needs attention. It's in the southbound lane of 106, just south of Fred Brannon's driveway. It is near the Shola white line and it is deep. If you meet a northbound truck, which is often, get over and give them a lane, and is a real problem. So that's
Where does Mr. Brandon live? On 106. I know.
Fred Brannon is over 3/4 of a mile headed north of St. John Church. Okay, another one I have is 9220 Kimmages Road. The individual said water is standing in front of the mailbox. I passed that mostly yesterday. It looked like to me it's kind of a sinkhole there in front of the mailbox on the horse service road. So it's kind of a dip in the road there. So I'd like for you to look at that also.
9320 Kimmages,
9220.
9220, okay.
And also grass on Bonnet Road. I think y'all cut that today, so I don't have to report that.
They're working through the county right now.
Yeah, I think they cut that today, so I'm not even gonna report that one. It was tall grass on the edge, hitting the cars. Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wynn, have we made any progress or done anything on a possible, and I know there was a detour, now the detour is over, but where we had the fatal accident in the curve on Lot Carey Road, we mentioned it last month. Has anything been done as far as possibly looking into doing a speed study from Atkins Store down around that corner coming, I guess you would say south on Lot Carey?
I might have to check into that because I think we had a recent speed study within the past couple of years in that area. I think it's 45, as I remember. Pretty sure it's 45 miles an hour in that area.
Does it go all the way around the curve at 45?
I think so. But I'll check. I'll check it.
I'll check also on the way home and see when the signage starts. Also, at the mining operation that they access off of 106, they have now started mining across Barnett's Road to the other side.
Mhm.
And that road through there, it generally has a tremendous amount of red clay, mud, gravel, from where those construction trucks are crossing Barnett's Road going into the other site.
I'm familiar with that. They have a permit for that, and they're supposed to keep that roadway clean. They're supposed to have flaggers at that crossing whenever they have trucks going back and forth. But I can check with my permits office and get somebody to lay the law down to them.
Who would enforce that if they weren't keeping the road clean and whatnot? Would that be VDOT or?
I mean, if they putting mud on the road, the local police could stop them. But I'll get with permits and get them, to get in contact with, police here and everything. And we'll go through that way. I know with the mining operation, they were mining on one side of the road at one time. They completed everything. So they're working on the other side of the road, from what I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you could look into that and just get back to Ms. Johnson, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson, since we are live, are we going to ask for any comments from our Facebook or YouTube people for the VDOT rep? So if anyone that is watching us on Facebook or YouTube would like to type in a comment very quick or a question for the VDOT rep, please do so while somebody said something. Please do so while I'm asking for comments from the audience that's in person. So if you have any questions or what for the VDOT rep, please type them in. And at this time, I would ask anyone from the audience, if you would like to address the VDOT rep, you can stand where you are, state your name, and then hold on a second, because we won't be able to hear what you're saying. Go ahead, ma'am, state your name. Go ahead.
Sir, we have a road where I live that is state maintained. Always got potholes in it. It's always, they fix the potholes, but the little road is just falling apart. I'm just wondering, I see where they get the gravel and they repave roads, because this road's so short. Is there any way that you guys could come in with the gravel and the tar and take care of the whole little road at one time?
Is it non-hard surface?
It was all, sir.
What road?
State road,
What road is it?
Country Woods Road.
106.
That is correct.
Not far from Old Union Baptist Church, right south of Old Union.
Okay. You got a number I can reach you at?
Yes, sir.
I'm listening.
804
Uh-huh.
951 2554.
554. I'll be in touch with you. Mhm.
Bill Hayes. Y'all had come through, I'm on Tollersville Road, Route 632. Y'all had come through and marked a section of road to be paved on that road, and that's been over a year, and the marking's almost gone. because it hasn't been done. I was wondering if y'all could take another look at it.
All right, Bill, what's your number?
804-829-2663.
2663. Okay.
Anyone else in the audience like to address the VDOT rep? All right, we do have that there has been reported a pothole on Barnett Road in the 2500 block. Mr. James Smith, we do receive your comment there, and I have conveyed that over to the VDOT rep. At this time, I will go ahead and close the public questions and all. And Mr. Wynn, we do thank you for your time. All right, bud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Helen Payne Jones is online, who had just submitted a comment for VDOT, and Ms. Jones, Mr. Smith had given that information to Mr. Nguyen from VDOT, so he has that information. The next item that I have are under presentations, our Director of Fire and EMS, Mr. Jimmy Johnson, with our COVID-19 update. I think that we have some additional information when this packet was distributed on Friday. Our numbers actually have increased, so we'll give you some updated numbers for this evening.
Ms. Johnson, we don't have this information in the back of the room by chance?
No, we don't.
Okay, if anyone would like a copy of this, just let Ms. Johnson know. She'll be more than happy to get you a copy of the updated numbers as of today. Is this as of today? Okay, yes.
Aisha, if you could let Miranda back in the broadcast.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Ms. Johnson, public. My normal update for COVID. So far in the state, we have 142,010 cases with 10,675 hospitalizations, 3,060 deaths. Charles, well, I'm just go down the order. The Chickahominy district, which consists of Charles City, New Kent, Hanover, and Goochland, we have a total of 1,765 cases, 159 hospitalizations, and 50 deaths throughout the district. Charles City, we have 83 cases, 21 hospitalizations, and 5 deaths. Out of the 83 cases that Charles City had, we have 9 active cases and 69 recovered. So far, as of today's date, the 22nd of September, we have given out 4,000 masks to nonprofit organizations, including the churches, and we've done 18 out of the 20 churches that we've sent letters or emails to. They've picked up masks, 200 for each church. We're in the process of receiving an additional 5,000 masks to be given out. We haven't decided how we're going to give them out, but they'll be able to be given out to the general public. Just have to decide what method we're going to use. We do have a few other masks left, and some of those masks will be given out at the National Night Out, part of the fire department's contribution. Any questions?
I think we're fine, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your report. Ms. Johnson?
This is to our first public comment period.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are on YouTube or Facebook, we would ask that you type in your comments, and I will read them after we get finished taking comments from the audience here. And Ms. Payne Jones, the item about flooding on Kimmages, we will get that over to the VDOT rep. I think that came in just a smidge late, but we will get that information over to him. Ladies and gentlemen, this time, this is our first public comment period. We ask you to come to the podium and state your name. If you are speaking as an individual, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. If you're speaking for a group, we will give you 5, but we will ask you to identify that group, and only one person from the group will be allowed to speak.
Ms.
Miranda, you unmute or mute that?
Mrs. Johnson, chairman of the board, other board members, all assembled. I noticed today, my name is Eleanor Robinson, 17511 John Tower Highway. I noticed today I was here and a couple of people were not wearing masks. And one of them said that he weren't going to wear a mask because the governor just wants you to wear them for him. And I looked at him and I told him, the governor said, yes, wear masks. The chemist said, wear masks because it's not for him, but it's for everybody to be safe. And I noticed on the door, it says to wear your mask when you enter the building. But maybe we have to change that up a little bit and put on the door, no mask, no service. Because we're not only wearing them for our governor. I don't care if you don't like him. A whole lot of people do things I don't care for either, but you pray for me, keep moving. Whether you like a person or not, health-wise, if it tells you to do something for your health and others around you, then you do it. And with this being a government building, you have employees here, then you have people coming in. And this thing is no joke. Thank God I haven't had it. But I know of people who had it and they died from it. And we don't want it. I don't want it. And I'm in here all times a week, 3 or 4 times. And Lord knows I don't want it. So if you don't mind to put on the door, and this is mandatory, no mask, no service. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Anyone else from the audience like to address the board, please come to the podium.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Johnson. My name is Kim Crummis. I live at 5641 Country Woods Drive. I'm here representing a group, my neighbors. We sent out a petition. I believe you may have a copy of it. If not, I do have copies for you. You can hear me fine, right? Okay, great. So I'm going to read a statement that is that we put together. My name is Kim Crummis. Again, I gave you my address. I'm in District 1 under Mr. Gilbert Smith's district. I'm representing my neighbors with a signed petition on the problem of recreational and random use of firearms in our neighborhood. We live in close proximity of each other. There are at least 40 houses within 1 square mile in any direction that if you decide to point a weapon, you're that close. My husband has been out on our property several times and almost been hit by high caliber coming through. And it scares the heck out of me because I don't even go out my house. When people start firing, I don't go out my house. I have some examples of some of the things that we've been putting up with. We have a neighbor who lives on Hobbs Lane. That's behind my property. On one occasion, his young son was out fishing in their pond. He had to go in the house. He had to grab him and run him in the house because the rounds were coming towards his property. They were hitting his property. In that particular incident, the shooting was coming from the house that's on 1 acre of land, which actually happens to be on Route 106. Another example, on Country Woods Drive, it runs into Piney Tree Lane. We have a neighbor who has established a range. That neighbor is within not more than 150 feet of one of our neighbors who has a horse barn. The other neighbor's house is exactly where that range is pointing. The day that they fired, and I'm going to tell you, it was Father's Day. I was sitting in my living room. I jumped out of my chair because all I could hear was this loud firing. The horses, my neighbor's horses, were so spooked. My husband went to try to attempt to help her to calm them down. And I know I'm not the only one, and other people have animals in that area, and I'm sure they were experienced between animals and children, the same thing. These are just a few examples of the things that occur constantly throughout the year. The more residents that we talk to, the more we're finding out that this is becoming an increasingly growing problem in the neighborhood, and we know it's happening in the county too. We call the sheriff's department and they're very kind. They do send someone out, but these people have mastered this. They know we're gonna call. And so what they do is, as soon as they know they're coming out, they stop shooting. So then the sheriff can't act on it. What we're requesting is an ordinance similar to what I know that Hanover County has, that you must have at least 5 acres of property and 400 feet of off the property lines. This will give law enforcement the tools to act when called for safety of our families and our communities before someone gets seriously hurt or killed. One thing I don't have in this writing here is when we're talking about the recreational firing, holiday firing. I know you're all familiar with that. People just go outside and randomly start shooting up in the air as if the rounds aren't coming back down. And in the news, you've seen where, I think it was an incident where a little kid, 6 years old, not in this county, but it could happen to anyone. What goes up comes down. We're afraid for our safety. We want something done to keep us safe, and so we can enjoy the land that we went out there to enjoy. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Sullivan. I live at 11001 Watermelon Field Road. I know this evening you'll be addressing my proposal to exempt solar panels from local taxation, which is provided by state statute, but must be enacted by the locality. I watched Mr. Coda's town hall, and he seemed to have some issues with the cost of the tax exemption. So I called the Denise Smith, the Commissioner of Revenue, to find out how much this will cost the county. And as of right now, the amount of money, assessed value of solar panels in the county is approximately $50,000. At our current tax rate, that would be about less than $500 per year total. Of course, this will of course be going up, but it is, to me, that's a pretty insignificant amount of money when you're talking about the climate. And I think Charles City needs to be on the right side of climate change. And this would, I think, attract people to do the kind of things that we need done. And I mean, this county is a low county, and with one of the characteristics of climate change is sea level rise. And you could see, especially in District 3, which is probably the lowest of all the districts, you could see some significant flooding in District 3 we already have it during hurricanes. But I mean, in the future, if we don't get more on the program of renewable energy, that we're going to be creating some major problems for ourselves in this county. So I hope you will consider and pass the ordinance to not tax the solar panel systems currently in the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Soul. Anyone else from the audience?
Do you have a copy of this issue that you just talking about? I can maybe number them for you.
Just lay them right over there, sir. Right by the podium. That'll be fine. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board from the audience? Hold on a minute, Ms. Johnson. I need you back up here. All right. We don't have anyone else from the audience. and I do not see, the only comments that I see, Ms. Johnson, refer really to VDOT. So at this point, I will close the first public comment period. Ms. Johnson?
Next item, Mr. Chairman, are the appointments. You gentlemen have been asking basically for the information on appointments for all of our boards and
We're not on
commissions.
appointments, we're on public hearings. It's not often that I'm able to catch Mrs. Johnson in a mistake, but we are at the public hearings, ma'am.
Well, thank you. I'm really, this virtual and in live, this is a lot of multitasking going on. All right, so let's get back to the, let's see. Agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the reminder. Just put it off in your books. All right, so item number 6, the public hearing. First, we have Coles Courthouse Grill, case number SUP 02-2020. And I will read the notice that was advertised in the paper while Mr. Jimmy Johnson gets the sign-up sheet for me to see if anybody signed up to speak for this hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Charles City County, Virginia Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter as possible in the Government Administration Building, 10900 Courthouse Road, Charles City, Virginia, to receive public comment on and consider the following SUP 02-2020. Green Building Lounge at Coles Courthouse Grill. Application B, Whitaker and C, Jenkins for a lounge to be operated in separate building from the existing restaurant that will offer live music and dancing on a portion of 1+ acre of the 7+ acre site. The property is an irregularly shaped parcel zone business general B1 with conditions located 875 plus east of the intersection of John Tyler Memorial Highway, State Route 5, and Courthouse Road, State Route 155. West of the intersection of Courthouse Road, State Route 155, and the intersection of John Tyler Memorial Highway, with an average depth of 350 feet. The property is further identified as tax map number 40-17. We do have our planning our planning department tonight that will bring forth some further information, correct? Ms. Rhonda, you're doing it? Yeah, Ms. Rhonda Russell, our Assistant County Administration, will come and bring more information for this public hearing. Ms. Russell.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the community present. We have a special use permit request application to expand the scope of uses that are currently permitted at the property known as Coles Courthouse Grill. Can you hear me? Is it? Okay. Okay. The property owners, the applicants, Mrs. Bonnie Whitaker and others, which include family members, are proposing to use an accessory farm structure in the rear of the property as a lounge. That property would permit activities to include.
Hold just 1 second, please. I hate to interrupt you.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way that the microphone that goes in here, no one can hear you? Can anyone you all hear a little bit? Is there any way there's a microphone?
No, if we get the microphone from, right, so she'll just have to turn around and do the presentation to the audience.
That's okay. If you all have any questions, then could just raise your hand after she's finished, okay?
So just turn around, Ron, and just present to them, because we know what the case is, to be honest. There we go.
Now, is everyone on virtual going to be able to hear?
She'll have to stand like next to the laptop. We're just being creative. Listen.
Hey, we will do what it takes to get the job done. Go ahead, Dr. Russell. I'm sorry.
Good evening. We have with us this evening Mrs. Bonnie Whitaker, who is the proprietor of Coles Courthouse Grill. Ms. Whitaker, would you please stand? Ms. Whitaker and others, which include family members, are proposing to expand the scope of uses permitted at Coles to use a farm building in the rear of the structure for expanded seating and a lounge that would facilitate live music, expand the entertainment opportunities that they they currently offer, and that use in our zoning ordinance requires a special use permit. The proposed project was considered by our planning commission at their August 23rd meeting, considered favorably with a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for approval with 6 conditions with which the applicant is agreeable to. The area or the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the county's courthouse area plan, which designates this area as a development center where there are heightened needs and recommendations for expanded uses, convenience-oriented uses, government offices, retail, et cetera. And so we're excited about this opportunity and others that are forthcoming in our courthouse area.
Okay. Anyone have any questions in the audience? And does anyone have any questions? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for SUP. Excuse me. That's RZ, right? Dr. Russell?
At the top.
Hang on a minute, I'm on the room.
What?
Don't. She's just trying to save face. She's just trying to save face. Okay. For where am I at? 02-2020. All right, at this time, I will open up public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Ms. Kim Cranes, was that for the public comment? Okay, so we don't have any.
Okay. All right, so we do not have anyone signed up to speak from the auditorium. Is there anyone in the auditorium that would like to speak to this? Make your way to the podium.
You have to mute this because we keep getting feedback. You're muted on this.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. I see that that you couldn't hear her. A couple of people noticed that we could not hear her, but she was just expressing the desire to continue her business and grow her business here in Charles City. They've been here 11 years, and they wish to continue as a longstanding business and a supporter of Charles City. And I will say that they have been a longstanding supporter of Charles City. So that's what she was saying. Is there any other questions? Mr. Arrell, we do see that you are in full support by your comment. Fendi May, thank you for your comment. And Elizabeth Weber, I hope that I'd recapped her statement. Any other people would like to speak on this before I close the public hearing? All right, then at this time, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do you all have any questions?
I just have a comment to make.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith. Go ahead, Mr.
To just give us more entertainment in the county. We don't really have to leave because it's right here. And also, when you run a business, I never had to run a business, but I think you need to be creative at all times when you run the business to get that more funding. So I don't have any problem with it.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Black?
I just had one comment for Cole's Grill. I know you all are expanding. I was just curious if you all considered improving upon the driveway, the entryway. The rocks are just spewing into the road. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Dr. Russell, what was the Planning Commission's vote on this? I didn't see it in the packet. And going forward on our public hearings, if you could have that information on ayes, nays, ayes, nays, whatever, just to give us an idea. I think it was unanimous, but I just want to make sure for public record. It was unanimous, wasn't it, Mr. Smith? I'll tell you what, Dr. Russell, I'm going to go with unanimous at this point. If there's any difference in all, I see Gary Mitchell is also saying thumbs up on that too. So this did pass our Planning Commission unanimously. So gentlemen, at this point, I would say that the floor is open for a motion on SUP 02-2020. Yes, sir, Mr. Black. Yes, sir, Mr. Black. Okay, Miss.
2020.
What was the last? What was the last thing you said?
Oh, 2020.
All right, Mr. Black has made the motion for approval of SUP 02-2020. Is there any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black? Mr. Smith? My vote is aye. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the next public hearing for the evening, RZ 02-2020 Virginia Grounds. Application by C. Fenton to rezone 2 acres from agricultural A1 to general business B1 with conditions to permit a landscaping contractor's office and storage yard. The comprehensive plan designates this property in an area designated as a neighborhood service center with no specified density. The property is located off a private drive which connects to Wilcox Neck Road, State Route 623, north of the intersection of John Tyler Memorial Highway and Wilcox Neck Road. The property is identified as tax map number 70-5-2. Mr. Johnson wants to get the sign-up sheet to see if anyone wanted to speak to it.
Nobody signed up? Okay.
Yes, we have a presentation from Dr. Russell.
Good evening once again. Mr. Fenton, the applicant for this proposed rezoning action, was not able to be present this evening, Mr. Cota. Mr. Fenton did indicate that he is agreeable with us moving forward with consideration of the request. Is that okay?
I can't hear her. I can't hear good anyway, but I really can't hear you.
Is there? I hear more.
Well, this pipe back here is running now. So, could you repeat that, please?
Good evening.
Pardon? I tried that, but it's headphones are back. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening once again. This is a rezoning application by Mr. Fenton, who is proposing to relocate his landscape contractor's business from James City County to Charles City County. He's owned the property in question for approximately 10 years. And to facilitate the relocation of his business, it does require the change of the zoning designation to our B1 business district for the contractor storage yard. It is, the proposed use is consistent with the land use recommendations of our comprehensive plan, which designate properties in this area as our neighborhood service areas, of which there are 5 in our community. And the neighborhood service area designation actually grows, or the catalyst for that designation is our more dense residential areas. that are in what we call transportation hubs or areas which experience more traffic that would benefit and do benefit from convenience-oriented commercial uses. Our Planning Commission did consider this request at both their July and their August meetings and did recommend approval of the proposed rezoning action. The applicant has voluntarily offered conditions in support of the rezoning request, and there are 5.
All right, thank you, Dr. Russell. At this time, I will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this? We did not have anyone sign up on the sign-up sheet. Is there anyone that would like to address this issue? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Where is it gonna be?
Okay. Ask your question from the podium, please, ma'am.
Where is it gonna be?
It's going to be southeast on Great Wilcox Neck Road from Route 5. Dr. Russell, is that southeast or?
About a mile on the right-hand side. Before you get to the Chickahominy Game Preserve or the preserve area.
All right, let me ask you this.
Before you get to the Chickahominy Preserve, that large game in the inland fishery preserves. About a mile and a half, 2 miles. It's not.
This mute and unmute. Her question was, is where was this located? The answer was about a mile and a half off of Route 5 on Great Wilcox Neck Road, like you're headed toward the Blue Heron restaurant. Anyone else like to address this? And anyone on Facebook? I do not see anyone. So at this point, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do you all have any questions? I got a few questions myself, but do you all have any questions on this? You good? Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, fine. Dr. Russell, when I first looked at this, the first thought that came to mind was spot zoning. And the reason being is because this isn't on the road frontage. The only thing that fronts the road is a driveway that goes to a lot that's situated in behind other lots. You say that this is situated in the neighborhood service area, is that correct? And the neighborhood service area encompasses this whole property? Do you happen to have a map of that by chance? Ah, perfect. Can I see it? No, I want to see this neighborhood service area. That's not, Anybody got a pair of glasses? Ah, he does. Hold on just a moment. Okay, so that's the purple area. Right down here. Hope everybody can see that. How far does that, do you have an expanded view of this by chance? No, that's okay. I just want to know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that the entire lot is encompassed in that neighborhood service area. It is. Okay, that's all the questions that I have. I don't like it, but I will definitely support it. All right, no other questions, gentlemen. The floor is open for a motion on RZ-02-2020 application by Mr. Fenton. Hold on, Matt. Go.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like the motion to approve RZ 022020.
So Mr. Black is motion for approval of RZ 02-2020. Is there any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black?
Mr. Black. Aye.
Mr. Smith? My vote is aye also. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item are our appointments for the evening. I can get to that now. You'll see in your packet that we have reconstructed the appointment list for you gentlemen. We pretty much given you a cheat sheet. If you look in your packet, there is a cover page on this sheet of exactly that. I'm going to go over this first, and then we're going to go over this, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Maybe it's not. Go ahead.
Walk with me, Lord. So this sheet, seriously, that you have in front of you is pretty much a cheat sheet that you guys should just see all of the individuals that you need to appoint for your district. And so we will be putting this out on Facebook, and it has Ms. Jones has gone through and did a glossary as well as a purpose for each committee. So that way citizens who want to volunteer will have this information out on our website. And there will be a link on social media. So you'll see in yellow are the number of individuals that you need to appoint for each board, committee, or commissions. On this sheet that you are referring to, Mr. Coder, Ms. Jones also took the liberty to contact the individuals to see if they were willing to serve again. And so under your district, if it has in the column wants to be reappointed, has a check mark, and you can reappoint them this evening if that's your pleasure, sir. For any of you that has check marks.
I think the check mark says term has not expired. So I think you're incorrect on that. I think it says yes if they want to be reappointed.
Your mic is muted, so nobody heard you.
I will be more than happy to repeat it. If there's a check mark, like you said, Mrs. Johnson, that means that the term has not expired. And if they want to be reappointed, they have been contacted, and the word yes appears there. Just saying.
1,000 a night. You're betting 1,000, and I'm loving it.
Gentlemen, back to business here. This is time for appointments. If you have any appointments, speak now, forever hold your peace, because I got about 8 of them over here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do mine while you all are looking. And I may, Ms. Johnson, stop me if I cover some of the boards to be approved, whatever. There's a couple in here that may be questionable, but and I'm going to make all these under one motion unless you stop me, okay? And I'm going to start at the first page and go back. On a Board of Zoning Appeals, Ms. Linda Pierce, I would like to reappoint her to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Flipping another page, on the left, I would like to reappoint Rob Tyler, to the Colonial Community Justice Board. That would be a board appointment. Then flipping another page to the Housing Task Force, I would like to reappoint Vanessa Taylor Holland and also Sylvia Jones Thompson. And flipping on to the Planning Commission, I would like to reappoint Clyde Lenny Miles. And down to the RRPDC, the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, I would like to reappoint Stephen R. Adkins. And on the Wetlands Board, I would like to reappoint Clyde Lenny Miles and Evan Pierce. And that are my 8 appointments that I motion for reappointment. Is there any discussion on? Mr. Smith? My vote is aye. You guys got any?
I'd like to.
Hold on a second. Something went wrong on my screen. Miranda, come up.
Aisha, I think that you took Mr. Coda out of the broadcast, or maybe she took himself out of the broadcast.
No, I didn't hit anything.
But that time have not expired. You don't have to open there, do you?
And there I'm back. All right, sorry about that. Gentlemen, do you all have any appointments at this time?
I'd like to see if this is possible to basically have an open call Q&A for my appointees or potential appointees, if that's possible. So I can basically find out who is interested, invested into this community, and have these ideas that I share and that the rest of the community share. I like to sit down with some of those folks and have a meeting with them and have an open call. We can schedule that and put it out there, and I'll sit there along with you, Ms. Johnson, if you're willing, and talk to some of these folks and have a Q&A to basically discuss who wants to be on which board and their motives, basically, before I just blindly say yes, this person, that person, and so forth.
I'm sure not a problem, Mr. Back. I know you're the newest member on the board, and it makes more sense. Like you're appointing people, and you don't even know who the people are that you're appointing. So we can have staff schedule those appointments. We'll get some dates and some times for you, and have those individuals come in so you can just get to know them before you reappoint, and that's not a problem. Okay.
That, folks, is the new blood on our board with new ideas, and I applaud him for that. Yeah. Mr.
If I'm looking at the sheet correctly, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anyone that I need to appoint, but I'm looking for someone to serve on the planning commission and on the social service board, which Ms. Johnson, you will put that out on on Facebook or whatever the case might be, and anyone that's interested, they can call Ms. Johnson, else they can call me, but as far as the appointments this evening, I don't see any.
Mr. Smith, we do have two individuals from your district who has reached out to Ms. Russell and I, who Ms. Russell will be having a conversation with, that would like to serve on the planning district commission. And so we will be just having a conversation with them, make sure it's a good fit for them, get the information back to you, and you can do that appointment next month. Okay?
Thank you.
Also, gentlemen, before you, under appointments, we are later in the agenda, you will be approving the reassessment for the upcoming assessment year. And so if you gentlemen can start thinking about appointing people to our board of reassessors, that board is very important as we complete the reassessment for any individuals who have discrepancy in the assessments that have been provided. So if you could start thinking of individuals for that board, I would appreciate that. Okay. Moving on to the county administrator's report. At this time, I will have Ms. Thalia Bowen, our Director of Human Resources, come before us with item A, county holiday request, and item B, acceptable use policy. And Ms. Sledge, if you could bring Miranda's screen into the broadcast, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Ms. Johnson. So before you this evening, you have a request to approve a couple of the governor's granted state holidays for our employees. You have two for November. One is Tuesday, November 3rd, which is going to be Election Day. He is granted that as a holiday. Okay. And then, of course, every year he grants additional time for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So on Wednesday, November 25th, you have 4 hours of 4 hours granted to the employees for Thanksgiving. And then on Thursday, December 24th, you have 8 hours for the Christmas holiday. Any questions, sir?
Gentlemen, any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. How many people come in on the 25th, like on average, for a service, for any type of services?
On the 25th
of November.
I can honestly say we very rarely have people in the building.
So I'm seriously like wondering why even have people come in at all, and we should just give them.
I'm going to cut a deal.
A deal?
A deal.
Let's hit a deal. Let's hit a deal.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Currently in our policy, we grant the day of and the day following. So this isn't in our policy, and that's why we come to you every year to request it.
But the Board of Supervisors can change forever and do what we want to do if we all agree, correct? I got a deal for you.
If you all agree.
I think they'll agree. I'm gonna put my money on my colleagues on this one. Tell you what you do. Work all 8 hours of election day and give them time to go vote. And then close all the day on Wednesday, November the 25th. Is that, be open all day on Tuesday, November the 3rd, but allow any employee, because they don't have to go very far.
That's
go
the
vote.
employees that live in the
Hold on a
county.
second. What did you say? Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, we
How
have
many-
not all of our employees live in the
Stop,
county.
stop. One person, please. How many out of county employees do we have? Do you know it off? I didn't think about that.
I would say at least half of our employees live out of the county.
I don't want to go both days. And anybody asked you to unmute you? Anybody asked you
I'd
to
like to
unmute
say
you?
I
Unmute you. Man, why?
a voting day is very important.
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay, that's one of the most important ones. But spending time with family, 4 hours, just let them sleep in. 4 hours. Oh,
Can you mute yourself now?
oh my bad.
Mr. Smith, we've heard from the right. How about the left? I want to hear from you, sir.
I thought the governor had approved the vote, being off the voting day.
He did.
Well, there's,
He did approve it for the state, but it's up to
Okay,
the locality
I
to
know
implement
it.
within our
yeah, it's on the other
organization.
side. What is your pleasure on this?
He wants to do it.
Excuse me, you're trying to sway the vote, Mrs. Johnson. What's your pleasure, Mr. Smith?
I was thinking about this, when I was reading this packet last night, and, I must say, whether you agree or not, that, we have very, very dedicated employees. You know where I'm going. And I know they have been exhausted from COVID-19 and other things that they're dealing with. So I think in time when we can do it, we can afford to do it. I think, you need to get
I'm sorry.
Believe that Ms. Johnson's been working behind the scenes and behind my back. So what are you all saying? Be off Wednesday, November the 5th all day and off November the 3rd? Is that what you're saying? We can just do the gentleman's consensus, can't we? We don't need a motion on this, do we? Mr. Smith just spoke from years of experience. Gentleman's consensus is, you got a better deal. You got a better deal looking for, Ms. Bowen. Then you'll be closed all day November the 3rd and you'll go all day November the 5th.
Thank you, sir.
Oh,
Duly noted.
duly noted.
The employees will
Duly noted.
appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Oh. Let me see. I want to say. I forgot. No, I know. I was just reading.
Okay, so the next item you have is the approval for the acceptable use policy. This has been in the works for quite some time, and it's a policy that is going to detail basically the do's and don'ts of the organization when it comes to the technology portion of the organization. And so it details, again, it's going to safeguard the organization as well as the employees because it outlines what is acceptable and what is not. And so you have the entire policy before you and seeking your approval this evening. Do you have any questions?
Any discussion, gentlemen? Any questions?
I just had one question. Is this a policy that we adopted from that we may adopt from someplace else, like a template received from someplace else, or no? And what source is it exactly?
So this policy, it was created by the Director of Information Technology, and I believe it has been assembled from other sources to cater to Charles City. So.
That's all I had.
You good, Mr. President? I hate to.
We'll break it up. It will give us an insurance in certain instances if something happened like this in that building. So I don't have any problem with that.
The floor is open for a motion then. Ms. Johnson, we need a motion on this? And what would this, to accept the Charles City County acceptable use policy as outlined? Then I just made the motion. I'll make the motion that we accept the Charles City County acceptable use policy as presented. Any discussion on my motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the Parish Hill School purchase. We have one of the oldest schools here in Charles City County, one of the first African-American schools in the county, old Rosenwald School located on Route 5, that's currently owned by Brian and Pat Baser that live in District 3. They are the current owners of the property. However, in light of COVID, have done some reflection and felt it's time for them to enjoy their retirement. And they have approached the county about purchasing the Parish Hill Schoolhouse for the cost of $25,000. And we will have our attorney come to the podium to assist us with the numbers. But this is a great opportunity for the county. Mr. Code, if you could mute your machine, and it's you as well, Mr. Black. That's the feedback. We're sitting, I'm sorry, guys. I really am, but we're trying to work through it. Okay, so this is a great opportunity for the county to purchase the property and bring it back into existence for the community. And so the Bazarts are offering $25,000 for the property. However, the property is assessed at $8,100. And so Mr. Boyd will speak to the assessed value. Also, while he's preparing, or the technology is being prepared for him, we have worked to discuss this project with a developer who's interested in coming in and doing the renovations because he wants to see it back into the community. And we work out a lease agreement the way that we did with the neighborhood facility building. Mr. Board, your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, the offered price and the assessed price are reasonably close. I have not spoken with the Bazards about coming to a final price. That I note that the $25,000, it was their offer. I believe it was how it was described. So if you are interested in acquiring this property, then you should direct staff and myself to negotiate with the Bazards and come to a final agreement that can be presented to you.
Mr. Board, are you familiar with that property?
Well,
Are you? Isn't there a cemetery on that property?
Behind the property.
But isn't there an access road to that cemetery through that property that has to be protected?
It's part of it's already an easement associated with the property.
Say that again.
So it's there. The property, the cemetery road, there is an easement adjoined to that property for that cemetery.
There are no graves on that property.
Not on the schoolhouse property, but in the cemetery there are.
I understand.
And what I would suggest is that a contract or an agreement to purchase it would be conditioned on getting a title examination. And if you wanted it, a survey to make sure that there were no I believe it is, isn't it?
How many?
2.
All road frontage? Here. The only thing that concerns me is you say the Bazerts actually kept the building from falling down. Is that true? Is that what you said? I was
Yeah.
trying to.
That's
Okay.
correct. They've made some repairs to it, and I believe they put a roof on it, which is a big part of keeping it, keeping the weather.
But also, Mr. Chairman, in speaking with the developer, we've taken him to the site, and he's very much interested in restoring the site the same way that he is doing with the neighborhood facility building.
Gentlemen, you have anything? Yeah. You good, Mr. Smith?
I'm fine with it. I would like to see someone to develop it. You know, I don't have any problem with most of the board's suggestion, draw up a contract and just talk to the Bazers and try to negotiate and get a final price and get a survey to make sure that we have a right of way. The cemetery still had a right of way to go through there.
Mr. Boyd, you own a lot of land in this county. So I need you to give me your expertise. What is an acre of land on Route 5 worth? I know depending on where it is and this, that, and the other, but this technically, in my opinion, could be considered prime commercial real estate, except for the fact that I don't think there's any infrastructure such as water or sewer. What is an acre of land like that worth on Route 5?
I would think that you would primarily think, given its location, what a house lot of 1 to 2 acres would be worth, and $25,000 to $30,000, I think, is probably a pretty good price range.
I know you chose that bit to buy it. Seriously, I mean, come on.
Mr. Chairman, I just think that it's a great opportunity for us to bring back and restore a great monument that's in, the Parish Hill community as well as on Route 5. In talking with the developer, a couple of things that we thought was that to actually turn it into an African American museum to commemorate the first African American school here in Charles City, but then tag along with it, to cater to the bike trail community. To have such a coffee shop or, a retail space or just a stop area for cyclists to take a break on the trail. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Dr. Russ, sorry to catch you off guard over there. And this was before you came on board with us. Didn't the Bazerts come and get a special use permit or rezoning or something on that property because they were going to put a coffee shop there? I remember them coming before and us having a public hearing on that.
Yes, they did.
What action did the board take at that time? Do you remember?
No, but we can have that as part of the presentation. I believe the board approved that.
We approved it, I remember, but I don't know what the action was that we approved. I don't know if it was zoning or whether use permit. I'm not sure. I don't recall. Do you, Mr. Boyd?
I don't recall, but I expect it was probably rezoning.
Rezoning. All right. The most famous question of all, Mrs. Johnson. Where are we going to get the money? And you knew I was going to ask this.
Oh, there's always money to get when we need to do things. Ms. Baser actually has chimed in on Facebook. It was rezoned B1. So she's on Facebook. So it is rezoned B1. And Mr. Carter, we do have money in our fund balance for economic development opportunities. And so we would get the money from the economic development fund.
Think we can negotiate on that, any Ms. Baser? Since I see you commenting on there, do I hear 20,000?
I'm sure that Mr. Boyd will get with the Bazards and they will negotiate to a great price.
Clinton Kelly just popped on and said the 1 acre of land is 20,000, and I have to agree with him. It sounds like a sweet deal. You in? You good? You in? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just wondering if we can get it assessed, the property value assessed in like an outside source. Is that possible? You didn't hear me?
Hang on just a second. There's a delay. Say it again.
I was just wondering if we can get like a surveyor or someone to come in outside and, value the property. Is that possible or no?
I don't think there's any question it's worth 25,000.
Okay, well,
I mean,
what are we waiting on then? I think that's a good opportunity. Other than,
If you wanted to, we could make it conditional on an appraisal. I mean, we have to get to a contract that would have various terms that would be presented to you before it would be formalized. It would be easy enough to require an appraisal if that's what you wanted.
Ms. Baker says that it's her understanding that the road to the Dobson Cemetery is not on their parcel. And I know there was some discussion about this when we did it. I don't see a problem here, and we have the money, and I'm all about the county controlling land on major thoroughfares so that we can sort of control our own destiny. So, gentlemen, if you all are good with it, the floor is open for. I hate giving asking price at 25,000. Say that again. Floor is open for a motion, Mr. Smith.
That's what I hear you saying.
Floor is open for a motion.
Okay, I believe that the county will go forth to purchase the old Paris Hill School, contingent upon the recommendations that Mr. Boyd had mentioned.
All right, so I understand that you're authorizing me to meet with the Bazards and to come to a contract that would then be presented back to you.
That's my motion, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? One discussion that I have is I see that Yvonne Smith-Jones, who is very, very vested in this county, says it would be an outstanding purchase to amplify the narratives of American education, African Americans in the area of education. And you can never lose by offering education. So any discussion? Your vote, Mr. Smith. Mr. Black? My vote is aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the emergency operations plan. Mr. Chairman, you have before you the January, you see it says January 2020, which we should have approved the emergency operation plans to be in compliance with VDM regulations. And so you have that before you tonight. We have taken the liberty to add in a few items for our emergency shelter as well as our some of our COVID-19 planning. And so I am asking for approval of the emergency operations plan for 2020, sir.
So we approved it for 19 back on the 22nd day of January, correct?
Correct, but we need to approve it.
We didn't do it.
Gentlemen, we need a motion for adopting the Charles City County Emergency Operation Plan for 2020.
Mr. Chairman, motion approved the Charles City County Emergency Operation Plan for 2020.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? My vote is aye.
Mr. Chairman, if you could mute your machines, gentlemen. The next item that we have is the reassessment for the 22 reassessment. As you all know, we do a reassessment every 4 years, and this year we have 2 individuals Of companies that have bidded on the project: Pearson's Appraisal Services at $102,114, and Bright Minds at $99,761.35. It is my recommendation tonight to go with Pearson Appraisal Services, who has done the service for us before. I have collaborated with the Commissioner of Revenue, who also makes this recommendation. With our switch in staff from our Information Technology Department, it's very crucial that we have an individual who is affiliate of that is aware and has experience with our Bright accounting system, and Pearson Appraisal has done that. Also, Bright Minds, great company. However, the communities that we have reached out to, they actually have not received the finished product yet from those communities. And so my recommendation tonight is to go with Pearson Appraisals. That is my recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion, any questions, gentlemen? Because I've been waiting for this one to come back to us. You good, Mr. Black? Mr. Smith? During the last assessment 4 years ago, the assessment company in most cases was not even leaving the main road. And I followed them in their pickup trucks and in their cars, and they did not even leave the main road to go onto properties to assess them. The one time that someone pulled up into my driveway and said, "We're from the assessment. Have y'all made any changes in the last 4 years?" And you know good and well what I said.
No.
Absolutely none. And I hadn't really, but the point being, are they going to do a reassessment, or are they just going to lollygag around? And I'm going to say lollygag around, because when you don't even get off the main road to pull down driveways and look at properties, that's not doing an assessment. You can't do an assessment from the road. And I would like for my concerns, as long as my board members don't say no, don't say that to them, I would like for my concerns to be relayed to whoever we choose. My knee-jerk reaction would be go with a different company, but they're too new in the game, evidently, because you haven't gotten feedback, and I value feedback. Pearson has done it for the last how many times, Ms. Johnson? The last two?
We had actually, I'm sorry, they did the last. They did the last reassessment. We had another company that did the reassessment before them. So 8 years ago, it was another company, and then 4 years ago, it was Pearson's.
Does anyone know how many concerns were taken to the reassessment board in the last reassessment? Does anyone know that answer? And if no one knows, that's okay, but that's a good indicator. Because if we have an excessive amount, that's one indicator. If we have very little, that's another indicator.
To be honest, I can't give you an exact number. I know it wasn't an astronomical number, because that was individuals coming to meet with the Board of Reassessors. So I know it wasn't over 25 cases that came before the Board of Reassessors.
Do we have a list of requirements or expectations that we give to the reassessors when we hire them?
Yes, it's part of the RFP, the request for proposal that we put out, but we can have a kickoff meeting with the company that's selected tonight to go over some guidelines. And if you would like to sit down with them and express your concerns from the last reassessment, we absolutely can make that meeting possible.
I would love to do that. That's all I have, gentlemen. The floor is open for a motion. You've heard the recommendation for Pearson. What's it called? Pearson Appraisals? Or Pearson, what's the name of them? Pearson Appraisals? You've heard the recommendation from staff to award the reassessment to Pearson's appraisals, and hopefully with a kickoff meeting attached.
Motion for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? Mr. Black? My vote is aye. My vote is aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item before you this evening for discussion is a solar tax exemption. You gentlemen, Mr. Black asked me to bring this back before the board this evening for further discussions. Of course, the state, Mr. Sullivan had alluded to it earlier, the request to offer tax incentives or tax exemption to private property or residential owners that implemented solar panels on their property. As the Board of Supervisors, you do have that opportunity to offer tax exemption for, you're not muted. To offer tax exemption to residents who implement solar panels on their property. So I'm going to open the floor up tonight for further discussions.
And gentlemen, with the first off, I think we're very, very early in the game on this, and the fact that we haven't looked at what that exemption would be. We don't have dollar figures on that tonight. We don't have any guidelines, because the first thing our Commissioner of Revenue is going to ask us, if we approve this, that at what rate is it going to be? We need to look at the depreciation schedule, because 30 years from now, we don't want to be offering the same tax incentives as we did in the first year. I'm not against solar by no means, as the way that this board, which I was a part of it, voted for the very largest project to ever go undertake in Charles City County, because Mr. Sullivan said that we need to be on the right side of climate change or whatever. And I think we are as a county when we committed 2,200 acres to the solar farm, and that is actually going to be expanded. And I'm not against residential solar by no means. As Mr. Black, I think, has pointed out, it's the wave of the future. But I do want more significant numbers on what that tax incentive would look like.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I do have a text message from the Commissioner of Revenue that says the solar assessments for FY 2019 and 2020 is approximately $54,500 or $414.20. And she said there may be others. So I think that we have to give her an opportunity to give us a full analysis of those properties before you can make a final recommendation.
What I'm going to recommend, gentlemen, is comparables.
Sorry. And thank you, Sam Ray. Bring it back to us next month, regardless of whether we have to defer it or not, but make sure that it's on the agenda for next month for consideration. If that's okay with you, gentlemen, that's my request, is to defer it. Mr. Black, you good with that?
I'm good with the deferral, as long as we're working out the numbers and defining what the exemptions are. I really would like to get solar, exemptions for our residents, but if we need to defer it to get like a defined number, then I'm with it.
You good, Mr. Smith?
I'm fine, like you said, it's early. Like you said, it's early in the game, Mr. Chairman. I think we need as much information as we can get, because once you start to give in tax breaks or exemptions, I think you can follow a path that we may have to back off of, not only on solar and anything else. And the reason being, that's revenue for the county. And once you talk about reducing anything, that's going to take away. So I don't have any problem of getting more information, put it back on the agenda, and let's discuss it again.
All right, Ms. Johnson, it is deferred until, do we need a motion now? We don't need a motion now, do we? Bring that back on our next month's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you could mute your machine. The next item is District 3 Internet Towers. So we have, Ms. Russell and I met with Mr. Charles Tench in District 3 to relocate the Roxbury Industrial Tower from Roxbury to the District 3 area in order to expand the wireless internet coverage for SCS broadband. And so we have actually had a conversation with Mr. Charles Tench, who has agreed to allow us to put the tower on his property. And Mr. Board has worked with Mr. Tench, and Mr. Board, if you want to give the board the figures that you and Mr. Tench and Ms. Miranda will unmute your machine and get you set up really quick. Hi, if you could bring Miranda's machine back into broadcast. You should be good to go. You're good. Mr. Board, you can give the board the figures that you worked out or negotiated with Mr. Tench.
I was able to speak with Mr. Tench. He agreed to lease the property for as long as we needed to keep the tower there. We agreed on a annual rent of $4,000 a year, which was based on the rent that we will be receiving from the broadband plus some additional. Mr. Tench had initially said that he wanted to have a reduction in his taxes for the parcel, the large parcel that this is on. And I told him that that was simply not possible. And after some discussion, he agreed to accept the tower and the under the terms that we discussed. I need to get a sketch of the parcel that we need, how much land that the tower will require, and I'll draft a lease between the county and Mr. Tench has placed the property in a trust, and it would be between the county and the trust to allow for the installation of the tower.
Do we have any estimates on what it's cost to run the electricity of that tower? Or we have to have electricity there? None, not yet.
There is a house that is not too far from the tower. I don't know exactly where the electricity runs, but there is a home not very far away.
When you say not far away, a couple hundred feet?
No, I would say 200-300 yards.
Yes, it's an annual lease, and that's pretty much what the service provider will pay the county to co-locate their equipment on our tower.
And SCS has looked at this location and determined it to be very advantageous for putting a tower there to better serve District 3. Is that correct? That is our whole motive here.
Yes, and so there were actually 3 properties in District 3 that we identified and had SCS to evaluate. Actually, Mr. Tench's property was the best piece of property, and so they ran everything on their CAD system and found that it would be comparable for their system.
Any questions? You got any questions, Mr. Smith? Do we need a motion on this, Ms. Johnson? And what does the motion need to say?
Mr. Board needs to say.
That's called passing the buck.
I would ask that the board authorize the staff and myself to work out the lease terms with Mr. Tench's trust fund and give it back to you for final approval.
For approval as represented.
Motion for approval as represented.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black
Aye.
and Mr. Smith. My vote is aye. I'm glad to see us progressing forward with internet for this county. Thank Jesus.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually going to combine items H and I, the broadband update, and the Comcast body status report for September 2020. Just wanted to give you gentlemen a broadband update. We are moving forward with our project for our internet service. As you guys have just approved, we are going to relocate the tower to District 3 from the Roxbury Industrial Park or District 1 to expand wireless service to District 3 with SCS broadband. We do have Ms. Russell and I actually participated in a conference call with Dominion Energy based on referral from Mr. Black for the Middle Mile program. And this is where Dominion Energy will implement fiber along their power lines, but the county will have to identify a service provider. And so that seems very promising because we know that there's going to be a gap in fiber opportunities outside of the Comcast scope of work. And so we have connected SES broadband with Dominion, who are having conversations to see how we can get that done. As you all are aware, SES offers fiber services, to the Roxbury Industrial Park. And so that is an opportunity for SES to also offer fiber service through Dominion Energy. Outside of that, the federal government or FCC has an auction. It's called the RDOF auction or RDOF auction that's going to expand fiber. Their goal on the federal level is to make sure that rural communities have 100% broadband fiber connections throughout all of the areas in rural communities. And so there is an auction that is a competing network that SES will also has informed the county that they will be entering into that auction. So we're still constantly trying to expand the fiber connections throughout the county before this is all said and done. Just to give you an update, our Comcast town hall will be October 13th. Here in the Government Administration Building at 7 p.m. We will have a Comcast representative here to give us an update of where they are in the process, to talk about their packages and to answer questions that constituents may have. As of September, I don't know the date on this. Not sure of the date on this. However, Comcast is about 36% complete on the construction of the project. So they are moving ahead of schedule. This was about a week and a half ago. So last month when we reported, they were about 12% complete. So as you can see, they're moving really, really fast throughout this project. They spent a little over $500,000 for the project thus far. And so they are moving expeditiously to get this done and are ahead of schedule. That is my update for broadband. I will entertain any questions that you all have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen. I want a map. I want a map. I want a map. My constituents want a map. Their constituents want a map. Everybody wants a map. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. That's all I have.
Next item, Mr. Chairman. Old Union Road update. You and a map. So I wanted to give you guys an update on our Old Union Road, note restricting truck traffic on that road. We actually, as you know, approved restricting trucks on Old Union, and then Charles City Road constituents wanted trucks restricted on that road. So we actually started all over, combined the two roads to have one resolution sent over to VDOT, only to find out that a portion of Charles City Road is owned and maintained by Henrico County, and VDOT informed us that we have to have a joint resolution from Henrico County in order to restrict trucks on Charles City Road. So we've reached out to Henrico County and working with the Varina representative, Mr. Tyrone Nelson, by Henrico County maintaining their own roads, they require a traffic study to be done in order to give us an answer whether they're into a joint resolution. And so the traffic study is being done now, and they should get back to us sometime in early October. So hopefully the October meeting, we will have an answer on whether Henrico County will join in with us with a joint resolution. Okay? Any questions or concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm really concerned about this truck traffic, but we've been working on it a long time, and the only thing I can do there is just wait and hope something positive comes from Henrico County. Excuse me, because the citizens up there are really concerned about trucks coming through the neighborhood. Some of the roads, chunks of cars coming out of the road from these large trucks and knocking people's car out of alignment. So one thing we can do is continue to try and hope that we can accomplish something up there.
Item, Mr. Chairman, those are all of the action items for this evening. We do want to talk about the upcoming events that we have for the community. Tomorrow night, we have the firefighter pinning service ceremony, here in the Government Administration Building at 7 p.m. Director Johnson will be pinning his new firefighters. Of course, face masks must be worn, and so we are excited that we are able to officially pin the new firefighters. Also, this Saturday, the food pantry pickup at September 26th at the Charles City High School from 11 to 1. We do have a nonprofit organization who is leading our food distribution efforts during COVID-19. And so they will be distributing food September 26th, this Saturday from 11 to 1. This Sunday, we have the grand reopening of the historic Charles City Courthouse at 2 p.m. from 2 to 3. And if you could RSVP to my office at 804-652-4701. We are excited that we are able to open the doors and allow individuals to see the great work that the late Donald Earl Hayes conducted and Michael Johnson continued. And so that is this Sunday at 2 p.m. The next item, we have the Comcast Town Hall, October 13th, here in the Government Administration Building at 7 p.m. This will be in a virtual event as well as in-house, and so we encourage individuals to tune in on October 13th to get the latest update from Comcast. And that concludes all the upcoming events. The next item is the second public comment period, Mr. Chairman.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for you all on Facebook and YouTube, you do have a couple of comments in there. This is public comment period, not dialogue. But I'm sure some of your questions or comments will be addressed during our directives. At this time, anyone in the audience would like to address the board? Same rules apply, 3 minutes as an individual, 5 minutes as a group. And we would ask that you identify that group if you are representing a
Aisha,
group.
if you could bring Miranda's screen back in the broadcast. Thank you.
Before you start, we do not require that you give address any longer.
Thank you.
Just your name.
Thank you. I only came back up here to add to my request.
But I do need you to say your name.
Eleanor Robinson. I do want to add to my first request about the masses. And I really want you to, instead of asking them are they reading that they need their mask to have service, have somebody post someone out there like you did before. They were out there for your temperatures and masks if you didn't have one. And that way, whoever is coming in, they won't get by and be in the building. So have somebody place somebody at the podium. You already have one out there. And if they don't have a mask, then ask them if they would leave or have one for them. That's what I need. I would like for you all to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Anyone else like to address the board from the audience? Would anyone like to offer comment from Facebook or YouTube? Please do rather quickly. I don't see any new ones, so Wayne Real said great improvement on virtual messages. Meetings, thank you. Screen, Robert. I'm going to go through some of those during our directives just really quickly. But at this time, I will close the public comment period. Gentlemen, this brings us to directives and comments, board directives and comments. Do you all have any? Mr. Black?
Yes, I was curious if we could actually do anything.
Mr. Dakota, if you could mute your machine.
Could we possibly put somebody back at the entryway so that we can protect the people that are coming in and out this building? We can do that tomorrow, possibly, right?
Oh, you come up for temperature checking off.
Yeah.
From up to checking it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and to ensure that we have masks. Is that something that we can do or no?
Oh, for sure, that's something that we can do. But the person that we had at the door, taking him away from his regular operations and public works. So we just have to be creative. We would need someone assigned there, all day. So we just have to work out the details. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, it is possible. We just have to work out the details.
Okay. How soon
And
can
if
we
it costs money, then to have someone there, are you guys opposed to that?
No, we have to protect the citizens. So no, I'm willing to pay to play so we can protect the citizens. So yeah, I'm willing to spend for that cause. All right, man.
As long as I look, you'll keep talking.
We do have COVID-19 money that we could possibly use for that. We still have the CARES Act money that we can use for the front desk.
Can't we utilize?
Can't we utilize part-time help that we utilize other areas of this building as long as we're not over 29 hours a week, like a certain couple of previous employees that like to come in and work and then we love to see them? Just an idea. Good idea, Mr. Black. Do you have anything else?
Yes. I know you mentioned earlier, revisiting this, but when it comes to the assessors coming to own the properties, what are the legalities of people coming onto private property to?
As long as they properly identify themselves, they have the right to come on because that's the Commissioner of Revenue. They work for the Commissioner of Revenue at that point, and she has the right to enter personal property at any time. Is that correct or not? Mr. Boyd? Mr. Boyd says, yes, it is true.
Did he say that?
Hold on just a second.
Mr. Black asked the question, mute yourself over there if you're not, about, and I think someone over in the comment section about entering on personal property. The assessors work for the Commissioners of Revenue's office. The Commissioner of Revenue's office does have the right to enter personal property at any given time. Is that correct, Mr. Boyd? Okay, Mr. What our legal counsel, Mr. Boyd, just said was they do have the legal right to come on the property for assessment purposes. The homeowner can request that they not come on the property if they are there. Is that what you said? Okay. However, if that occurs, then the assessment will be done from what I've been fearing, and the reason I'm asking before my concerns, if they get the wrong assessment, which then at that point, the assessors have no other choice but to go by what would be a common increase in property values that the homeowner may not agree with. So at that point, it becomes the option of the homeowner whether he lets them on to assess or not. Correct, Mr. Boyd? Okay, so they do have the authority to come on. The homeowner can ask them to leave.
Finally, I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Johnson and staff for their pursuit of internet in District 3, and also you all for supporting District 3 and our internet pursuit because we desperately need it. And also, I'd like to thank Mr. Boyd and Mr. Tench for allowing us to get that easement to that property for that the tower. That's all I had.
Mr. Black, I do not think that will be the last tower that goes into District 3 before it's over either.
I understand.
We are very concerned about District 3. Mr. Smith, do you have anything?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. To the citizens that's here from Country Woods, I know it's been an issue for a good while. I often talk to Mr. Clark up there about people shooting in that area. I think the last time I talked to Mr. Clark, did I talk to you, Ms. Russell, or someone from the planning department? And I think you all visited that site. Okay. And I know it's really getting to be an issue in the county because I received a whole lot of calls about people started shooting. Even at town hall meeting last night, I think two people mentioned asking what can we do about people shooting. Do you, Ms. Russell, at this point, does the planning department have any idea, or can you seek into some kind of language to address this issue that maybe could stop it or slow it down, or you have any suggestion at this time? Could you draft, maybe make a draft copy of some type of ordinance, you and I can get together and discuss, and then might get to the point that we probably have to address it on the planning commission side, and I don't know if we would have to have a public hearing on something like that or not. So once you have time, you and your department have time to make a rough draft, give me a copy. I mean, give me a call, and you and I can discuss, and we'll go from there. But it's really getting to be a problem. I know people love guns, I do, but I don't shoot them around my home. I always be in the woods hunting or something like that. But I think it's something that really needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just curious as to with a ordinance such as that, like that, would it interfere at all with hunting at all? With that, hunting season, we're a big hunting community. So would that interfere with them at all?
On 5 acres. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Well, I think what we need to maybe is consider hunting or just, what other shooting would you call the rest of that? Just ordinary target shooting, I would say.
I think the problem that we're having is that it's not hunting, they're doing shooting practice or target shooting. So the ordinance can reference the type of shooting that's taking place on private properties and being so close to residential areas.
Well, all throughout our county, we have residential areas and you hear shooting everywhere. So I just think it'll conflict with that, You might assume that it's this recreational and it may be this. I'm not saying that this is the case with this situation, but because I understand people shoot, during holiday shooting and such. But I know it might conflict with hunting season and hunters, you know.
I think what I hear from my house is recreational, and sometimes those guns are going off so fast you cannot count the shots that they're firing. So I know they're not hunting. That's to me that's recreation. But I think we have to be real careful of how we address this issue. That's why I want to get with the planning department and get a rough draft and discuss it at the planning commission stage and see what we can do.
Actually, one thing is working to our benefit here. You can't hunt with rifles in Charles City.
Hey, do what?
You can't hunt with rifles in Charles City. So if the shooting is done by rifles, which the majority of it is, then it's in violation if we have an ordinance. Mr. Clark brought this to this board some years ago, and I voted against it. And he very politely reprimanded me at the next meeting. However, I shoot guns a lot, but I have 25 acres that I shoot it on, and I have a shooting range. Sheriff, can I ask you to come to the podium, please? Sorry to put you on the spot, but you're here, so we might put you on the spot. If we pass an ordinance, say that we adopt the Hanover ordinance, which the 5 acres concerns me, the 400-foot does not, but you receive a complaint, you know guns, and if you respond to a complaint and you see rifle cartridges laying around on the ground that's been ejected, then you know it's not hunting, correct?
It's for recreation.
It's recreational.
I have 4 22 rifles myself, you know, but it's recreation. It's not for hunting.
So I think I'm against passing ordinances for everything. And that's why I voted Mr. Clark the last time no on this. Because once you start doing ordinances, then everybody wants you to do an ordinance for this and ordinance for that. However, I'm not against this at all of putting together an ordinance that would clearly define recreational versus hunting. And if it's anything other than a shotgun, then you know it's recreational. And you can be the determiner of that and issue the summons at that point if it is not shotgun shells laying on the ground.
Correct, sir.
I'm all for it.
We have to, excuse me, we just have to look at other localities, probably like our size. You know, I know Hanover's a little bigger than us. You know, of course, the population will be more condensed. We can look at Surrey, Sussex counties, and our population is spread out with 7,000 less people. You might want to contact them first and see what kind of ordinance they have. And you might want to also contact New Kent because I know they have a ordinance for shooting in cul-de-sacs.
Sheriff, can you give this some thought and get back with Ms. Johnson and Dr. Russell on possible wording, in your opinion, that would work for this? I, as one board member, am now in support of this. And I think my colleagues are. The hunting point, I think, can be covered because there's no rifle hunting in Charles City.
Correct.
So therefore, if it's our gentleman's consensus to let them look into this and bring back suggestions to us for a shooting ordinance near homes or whatever.
I just feel like at some point conflict with a homeowner in their property and dictating what they do. Some people can do things safely and some people can't. You know, as you alluded to, coming up with ordinances for everything is not the answer, you know, but proper use of weapons is the answer. But I understand that in a residential area. I'm all for protecting citizens. So yeah, I'm down for looking at other options and ways we can mitigate this situation. So
Can you have something for us at the next board meeting, Ms. Johnson, and Dr. Russell on suggestions and all? And that'll be on next month's agenda, please.
Yeah. You can take care of that, Mr. Chairman.
Good enough. Do you have anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, but I think we have to be very careful and look at it, no real sensitive issue, but we have to do something to protect the citizens of the county, and some of you were saying, but they can shoot on their private property. So there's a lot of things we have to consider doing. So I'm willing to look at an ordinance and a rough draft, and we can discuss it from there.
All right. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
You good? I'm going to flip right through some of the comments real quick, Ms. Johnson. I'm going to back up just a second just to make sure that we covered really quick. Cynthia Robinson, I'm not really sure what you mean by repeat what you said, so if you may want to type that in really quickly. Worth 200, S.J. Johnson, Clinton, Kelly. How much would the building rehab cost? We will address that as we go forth. Going past, probably we answered that. Solar panels, okay. Thank you, Mr. Arrell. No audio, no audio. Cynthia Robinson. A business tax. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, Ms. Robinson. A map. I really appreciate y'all. Clinton Kelly, we are going to probably continue. I know that it is a pain for us up here, especially the older guys, to keep muting and unmuting and whatnot. But one thing that we have noticed, we have had a tremendous increase in constituent audience participation or whatever by going virtual and all. And I think that it is the consensus of this board that moving forward, even after COVID, we will continue to do the best that we can. As I mentioned during my town hall, that if it didn't get out of hand, that we will continue with virtual meetings as part of our meeting. Correct, Ms. Johnson? She is shaking her head yes. Oh boy. And Megan, I see your comment about the noise ordinance. This is I think we were pertaining strictly to firearms, not noise. And recreational shooting on practices. Okay, let me talk about. There is laws, and I meant to say this. During the last time that we talked about shooting near a home, it was determined, and if I recall correctly, Dr. Russell, there's a state ordinance, and it's been a while, that says you cannot shoot within 300 feet of a home. Does that ring bell? I think that's true, Mr. Clark. Within 300 feet of a home. But if you'll look up the state ordinance and let us know what that is also, I would appreciate it. As far as a business tax, and it's called a BPOL, BPOL, that's Business Professional Occupational License. I have been in favor of a BPOL tax since I have been on this board. And as a business owner, I will have to pay that tax. However, we are the only county of any surrounding county around us that does not have a BPOL tax. I hate taxing businesses, but as I stated in my town hall meeting, in the past, I have heard from members of our own staff, colleagues, this and that and the other, that a BPOL tax is a business deterrent. And my response to that is, well, it sure has not hurt New Kent or Henrico County. They have BPOL taxes, and they receive a tremendous amount of revenue. Now, Charles City would not receive as much revenue as one might think, but I am all in favor of really looking seriously at a BPOL tax. That is something that does not have to go to referendum. That is a board decision. So, Mrs. Johnson, if you can, I would, the board, and I think Mr. Black, you brought this up at our last meeting about this. I would like to get as much information. I would like to know what surrounding counties, what their BPOL tax rate is, how it's applied. And I know it is a revenue-based tax. It is not a profit loss tax. I would like to have as much information brought back to this board as we can on a BPOL tax. I think it's long overdue. I don't think it's a business deterrent, because if you go outside these county lines, you're going to have a BPOL tax. One business owner told me, he said, I know it's coming sooner or later. I just consider that every year I don't have it as a blessing. but I think it's time that Charles City looks very, 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 very seriously and pursued a business professional occupational license in this county. The last thing I had, oh yes, I would love to have a very detailed map of the Comcast internet coverage for our county. I said it. I said that's the most important thing to me right now, and I'm going to say it again. That is the most important thing to me as a supervisor sitting here on this stage today, that we get a BPO, I mean, see, I got so excited, a detailed map of what the Comcast coverage will be, because we cannot do one on the SCS because that is airborne. So again, and I see my colleague to my right shaking his head, yes. Shake it harder, if you will. Internet is the most important thing on the agenda for our constituents. Don't roll your eyes, Mrs. Johnson. Get to work and get us a detailed map of Comcast coverage, please. That's all I have. Do we need executive session? No, no comment. No comment. At the discretion of the chairman, no comment, please.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Johnson, meals tax, is that something that's going to be discussed with BPO also, or no?
That is a separate tax.
Put that off.
Hold on just a second. Mute you. Mr. Black just asked about a meals tax. Before you were elected 2 years ago? When did it go to referendum? 2 years ago? Okay, 2 years ago, it went to referendum and it passed resoundingly. However, it was not advertised correctly, so therefore we could not enforce it because we didn't advertise properly. So the meals tax failed not by vote, but by administration. That's a good way of putting it. So the meals tax is a totally separate tax than a business tax, than a BPOL tax. Meals tax affects just restaurants, and I think we determined there were 7 restaurants at the time, and that included Hop Store and Atkins Store. But they would pay a separate tax that is figured at the register. So it's actually a pass-through tax, meaning it's passed right to the customer. And if you go almost anywhere, Henrico, correct me if I'm wrong, please, anybody raise their hand. Henrico, New Kent, does New Kent have a meals tax? I think they do. Anyway, the meals tax, you pay a lot. There was a lot of discussion about it and all, but it did pass rather resoundingly on the referendum, and that's the history of it. What would you like to do?
Revisit it so we can generate some revenue for our county.
So Mr. Black says that he would like to revisit the meals tax issue. That will have to go back to referendum. I know for a fact that by the time we get it back, we cannot make it on this November's referendum, but we could put it on next November's referendum for the governor's race. Is that true, Mr. Boyd? Okay. That is true. So if we're going to do it, I would like to have I, as one board member, get discussion on the table. Let's get it worded and all. Before I close, okay, go ahead, right quick. Let me mute. But in the meantime, Mr. Boyd, do you have the exact wording with you on the Confederate monument?
The thing is not muted.
Well, I didn't want to be muted right then.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Boyd. I'm sorry? Do you have a copy of what you submitted as far as the exact wording for the referendum on the monument? You do? Is that something that is like public knowledge before you receive the order?
It's on the ballot. So election voting started actually on Friday, and so individuals can see it in the registrar's office.
Where can you look at it? You can go online and see the ballot.
If you go to the Department of Elections, they should have the each locality.
Early voting, so they're voting on it already.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes, because early voting started on Friday.
So how are they voting on something the judge hasn't issued an order yet?
He entered the order into action in August. because we had to have it in before August 14th to make the ballot. So it's already on the ballot.
Okay, all I'm asking for is the wording of it. Can I get a copy of the wording of it, or do I need to go down and vote and get to and take a picture of it with my phone? Ms. Hayes, can you email me the wording of that referendum tomorrow, please? See, that was easy. Thank you. Ms. Johnson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to advise you all that on Thursday night at the Planning Commission meeting, there are 6 items on the agenda for public hearing. That they have 6 items, correct? And we don't know if those items, what the status of all of those items will be, on whether they will all be approved and pushed up to the Board of Supervisors for approval. You all have given me about 4 items for the agenda. I had about 5 items already. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to have an additional meeting, because with 6 public hearings potentially and about 10 items on the agenda for October's meeting, we will be in here a very long time. So if you want to recess, I know you guys will probably all be in attendance at the Comcast Town Hall on October the 13th, but I just wanted to give you all some information. If you wanted to recess after that, the week before your regular meeting, just to handle the public hearings or just to handle your agenda items, just be mindful of that, because we're looking for a very long night in October, if that is the case.
Dr. Russell, the advertising goes in, that just covers the planning commission meetings. We don't have to have advertising for our public hearings, correct? Okay, so we can address those meetings anytime after next Thursday night, correct? After next Thursday night? That is true, because we have to have public hearings on everything that they had public hearings on, correct? Okay, thank you. What is the time limit on that? 14 days? No, 14 days for before their meeting and then 14 days before our meeting. Are we going to have 14 days between Thursday night and the 13th? And do we want to put that much on the Comcast meeting night?
My suggestion is that you have the town hall meeting for Comcast as a standalone meeting. And then the following week, which is the week before the board meeting, our October meeting is October 27th. So you still have a week in between in order to have an additional meeting if necessary.
Make sure we don't schedule it for Tuesday night, because that's a school board meeting that week.
So you have the town hall meeting is the 13th, and then you would have the week of the 19th if you wanted to schedule an additional meeting so that you would not have a very long meeting. I know Mr. Black is shaking his head. It's NBA time. Right, it's playoff time. It's football season too. So just wanted to give you the information. I didn't want you to get an October agenda with 6 public hearings and at least 10 or 12 agenda items, and you all looking at me, in frustration. So what's your pleasure, Mr. Chairman?
Gentlemen, I'm available. I do not want to schedule on that Tuesday night, because I just messed up my town hall meeting by doing that. Give me your suggestions one more time, Mrs. Johnson. Which week? The week of between the 19th and the 23rd?
Correct.
So we don't want to do the 21st, because that's Wednesday night, people go to church. So in my opinion, is only the 19th or the 22nd. That would be a Monday or a Thursday.
27 sounds good.
So the 22nd will be the planning commission meeting again.
That's okay. We can move it. Do you have any public hearings on that one?
She would have to present
That's right.
information.
All right, then it's got to be Monday. Is that good with you?
Sure.
I'm sorry. we're tapping into Monday Night Football in your NBA playoffs. So you can record them possibly.
No.
Monday Night Football.
Soon Comcast will have it on demand.
As long as the Steelers aren't playing that night.
Thank you, Steelers.
Yeah, no, I was talking to my fiance. So we've settled on the 19th. And out in there, all right, so that's it. That, Mr. Smith, is that good with you? 19th at what time?
7.
Why don't we try 6?
Okay, at 6 o'clock. So on October 19th at 6 o'clock, just to do the public hearings that come out of the planning commission meeting on Thursday night. Those will be the only agenda items.
No executive or anything like that.
No executive or anything like that, just the public hearings.
Perfect. Okay, so just remind me to recess out of there.
Okay, so you're gonna recess tonight to October 13th, because you three will be in attendance for the Comcast, October 13th. October 13th is the Comcast Town Hall, and October 19th will be the public hearings for whatever comes out of the planning commission.
Okay, okay, so we're settling on that the 19th. I have unofficially been sent the wording for the referendum. And I say unofficially because I have not verified this, but it says, should the Board of Supervisors of Charles City County remove both the Civil War monument in front of the old courthouse and the Civil War memorial inside the old courthouse? Yes or no? So that is the unofficial wording of the referendum as it's on the ballot. And with that, I'm done. We need the executive session because we need to get in.
Executive session for investment of public funds and personnel.
Gentlemen, need a motion. Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is aye also. We do not expect any action taken afterwards. We do not expect any action to be taken after we everybody mute, please. We do not expect any action to be taken after executive session. You are more than welcome to stay if you would like. And we thank everyone for coming out tonight, and especially those on Facebook and YouTube. We look forward to many more meetings, virtual and in person. Thank you so much.